Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into some really profound source material,
Mm-hmm.
doctrinal texts that are focused entirely on the mechanics of liberation. We're
Mm.
going to be dissecting this key phrase, ripening in letting go,
Yes.
and how that idea really defines the systematic cultivation of the mind toward nibbana, or, ultimate extinguishment.
And this is truly foundational stuff. I mean, the key insight we're trying to draw out here is that freedom isn't some miraculous event you just hope for.
Right. It's not something you have to violently force.
Exactly. It's the inevitable destination when you've properly structured your internal landscape. The path, whether you look at the Noble Eightfold Path or the Seven Awakening Factors,
Yeah.
it's repeatedly compared in the sources to a great river that just inherently slants, slopes, and inclines to extinguishment.
I find that analogy really, really compelling
Mm,
because it completely reframes the whole spiritual effort.
it does.
It means liberation isn't about forcing yourself to let go. It's about setting up the internal architecture so that freedom just becomes the default outcome.
Like water finding its way to the ocean.
Exactly like that.
If you establish the right conditions, the correct mental cultivation, the mind naturally, it inclines toward release.
So our mission today is to understand that architecture. We need to unpack letting go, not as this passive surrender, but as the active, rigorous culmination of mental training.
And we have clear steps and some really striking metaphors straight from the texts.
So let's start at the destination. What does this ultimate freedom actually look like once the mind is fully ripened?
The sources use some truly unforgettable imagery, I think, to describe the fully liberated individual. They've shed everything, no attachments whatsoever.
Can you give us an example of that?
Well, perhaps the most powerful is the metaphor of the serpent shedding its skin.
Oh, wow.
The texts say a fully liberated mendicant sheds the near shore and the far as a serpent its old worn-out skin.
The near shore and the far, so everything.
Everything. It's total, absolute detachment. And the implication is that they possess no underlying tendencies at all and are rid of unskillful roots. There's no mental residue left.
That's such a visceral image. A complete sloughing off of everything that connects you to the past or binds you to the future. It sounds like they've truly transcended the human condition.
In a sense, yes, they have achieved nibbana, the ultimate extinguishment. The sources define this pretty consistently as the cessation of suffering, or quenching.
Quenching, that implies heat, a fire, is the idea that the unripened state, existence itself, is basically a kind of fever driven by craving.
That's a beautiful way to put it, actually. The fires being quenched are precisely the fires of greed, hate, and delusion.
Ah.
Nibbana is the cooling. It's the complete elimination of the fuel that generates that fever.
And once it's achieved, the texts stress this absolute certainty the freed individual has. They don't wonder if they made it.
No, there's no doubt at all. They realize this final, unshakable understanding. My freedom is unshakable. This is my last rebirth. Now there'll be no more future lives.
That's definitive.
It is. They've thrown off the human yoke and slipped out of the heavenly yoke, unyoked from all yokes. The awakened are described as cooled, quenched.
And unbound and unperturbed.
Exactly.
You mentioned unshakable. Does that mean they become emotionally inert? Or is that internal security actually a kind of hyper-awareness of reality that lets them navigate distress without being consumed by it?
It's absolutely the latter.
Okay.
It's not indifference. It's an invulnerability that's rooted in total clarity. Because they've quenched the fires of clinging, nothing external has the leverage to disrupt their mind.
Their state is impenetrable because the self that could be attacked
Is gone. It's been seen through.
Right. So that internal security is the goal.
Mm.
But we can't get to that state of total release without first dismantling the illusion of self.
Which brings us to the foundation of the whole path.
Exactly. Letting go is impossible without correctly understanding the nature of reality itself.
This is the critical starting point. If you want to stop clinging, you first have to identify what you're clinging to.
The 5 grasping aggregates.
Right. Form, feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness. These are the components of what we mistakenly solidify and call a self.
And the revolutionary insight that cuts through this illusion is applying the 3 characteristics to every single one of those aggregates.
Mm-hmm.
Most people listening will know the basics, but the sequencing here is it's vital, isn't it?
It is the absolute hinge upon which the entire path turns. We must see that all aggregates are impermanent.
They arise and they pass away.
They pass, they cease, they perish, and the sources immediately connect this to the second truth. That which is impermanent is necessarily suffering, dukkha.
Because it's unstable.
Unstable and ultimately unsatisfactory, yes.
And since they are impermanent and unsatisfactory, they cannot possibly be me. Which brings us to anatta, not self.
Precisely, that's the synthesis. Because they are impermanent and suffering, they are not self. Therefore, they are not fit to be regarded as, this is mine, I am this is myself.
The moment you truly see that, the whole structure starts to crumble.
That realization is what prepares the mind for release.
So insight into impermanence doesn't just, inform the mind. It produces the necessary emotional and cognitive response. The texts call it viraga.
Disillusionment.
Yeah, but that English word has such a negative vibe.
Yeah.
What do the texts really mean by it?
It's a positive outcome here. A radical moment of clarity. It's the cessation of charm. It means the mind stops being fooled by the apparent solidity of things.
It sees the trick.
It sees the trick. And when a disciple grows disillusioned with sights, sounds, feelings, desire just naturally, spontaneously fades away.
It's a cascading effect. The sources lay out this precise causal sequence. Being disillusioned, desire fades away.
When desire fades away, they're freed.
And when they're freed, they know they're freed. That's a very clean feedback loop.
And this isn't left to chance. The sources introduce 5 specific perceptions that are meant to be actively cultivated. They ripen in freedom.
Okay, we need to spend a minute here. These 5 perceptions are the direct instruction on how to make viraga happen. They move the insight from being intellectual to being active.
They do. They are. 1, the perception of impermanence.
Okay.
2, the perception of suffering in impermanence. 3, perception of not self in suffering.
Then what?
4, the perception of giving up. And 5, the perception of fading away.
You can see how they build on each other. It takes the concept and turns it into a constant mental habit.
Exactly.
Let's try to make this relatable. Say, an addiction or an unhealthy habit you know you need to drop. The initial insight, impermanence, is realizing the high is fleeting. It always ends.
Yes. And the second perception, suffering and impermanence, is realizing that the temporary enjoyment isn't just fleeting.
But its passing leaves a void or creates more negative consequences.
You're constantly chasing something unstable. That's the suffering.
Right. And perception 3, not self, is realizing the craving itself isn't the core of who you are.
It's a conditioned reaction. It's not fit to be regarded as, this is myself.
And once you have that clarity, the last 2, giving up and fading away, they become possible. You can actively withdraw support from the craving.
This comprehensive mental clarity is the engine. It's what drives the process of ripening.
Okay, so we know we need to see the instability of the aggregates. So the next logical question is, how do we train the mind to keep seeing that truth, to move past just understanding it intellectually?
And that brings us to the practical systematic cultivation, the training manual.
Which is?
The Prayatthaya architecture is the Noble Eightfold Path. The whole path, from right view through right immersion, it serves as the complete training regimen.
And it has to be developed with that specific aim.
It must be developed which rely on seclusion, fading away, and cessation, and ripen as letting go. The entire system is designed for release.
What are the specific targets of the path?
The path is developed to directly know and therefore overcome the 3 fundamental searches that bind us. The search for sensual pleasures, the search for continued existence, and even the search for a spiritual path if it's misunderstood. The path liberates you from all searching.
And complementing the structure of the path are these specific qualities of awakening.
The 7 awakening factors: mindfulness, investigation, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity.
And they have to be cultivated with the same inclination.
The same principle. They must be cultivated relying on seclusion, fading away, and cessation. Every effort has to be aimed toward dissolving attachment.
Immersion samadhi seems to be a linchpin here. It's one of the 5 faculties that have to be developed.
Alongside faith, energy, mindfulness, and wisdom, yes. It's vital. It unifies the mind, makes it pliable and workable.
So how do the sources say to cultivate this deep immersion?
This is where the instruction becomes incredibly granular. A core technique is the mindfulness of breathing.
A classic.
But with a specific instruction. When developed, one practices, I'll breathe in, observing, letting go, and I'll breathe out, observing, letting go.
Wow. Okay, so the very act of breathing, the core life function, becomes a constant moment-to-moment application of the central doctrine.
You're training relinquishment with every breath.
What does that feel like? To observe letting go with the breath.
It shifts the focus. You're not just controlling the breath, you're experiencing the subtle dissolution of the breath and the mental states that go with it. You watch the in-breath arise, stay for a moment, and then completely dissolve.
So you're consciously releasing any mental grip on the sensation.
And it makes the impermanence of even the most fundamental physical process an object of clear insight. You're building the muscle of non-clinging.
And this practice is what allows the mind to enter the absorptions, the jhanas,
Yes, which culminate in the fourth absorption,
which is characterized by
pure equanimity and mindfulness. It's a state where the physical process, the feeling of the breath itself, is entirely stilled.
profound stillness.
The ultimate expression of a mind that has found freedom through letting go.
But before the mind can fully ripen, it has to be cleansed. The sources are really clear that the mental landscape can't be full of weeds.
Absolutely. You have to eliminate the three destructive forces, the fires.
The fires of greed, hate, and delusion.
Those should be rejected, not cultivated. They're the roots of all unskillful activity.
And this purification is critical because the goal is to make sure consciousness no longer has any support and fuel for grasping.
Exactly. If one approves, welcomes, and clings to likable sense objects, sights, sounds, ideas, this gives rise to relishing, and the sources are unequivocal. Relishing is the origin of suffering.
So you apply rational attention, Yanoko Manasakara, to prevent those unskillful qualities from even arising.
And when those distractions are stilled, the awakening factors can fully develop toward freedom.
Okay, moving into our final section, let's look at the fruits. When the mind has been so systematically cultivated and purified, what are the resulting qualities?
The achieved mind is described in truly powerful terms. It's purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable.
That's a complete psychological overhaul.
It is. Its freedom is achieved because the mind is freed through the ending, fading away, cessation, giving away, and letting go of desire and greed and relishing and craving.
For all six sense fields and their objects.
For everything.
You mentioned earlier how the path requires this detailed attention to feeling, not just pleasant and painful, but the subtle, often ignored neutral feelings.
This is a nuance that separates, basic ethical behavior from ultimate liberation. The path removes the underlying tendencies, the latent desires related to all feelings.
Greed for the pleasant, repulsion for the painful. Most people get those two.
Right. But the real hiding spot for ignorance must be neutral feeling.
Why is that specific, subtle feeling so dangerous?
Because neutral feeling is the perfect camouflage for delusion. It doesn't scream for attention like pleasure or pain, so we just ignore it. We assume it's harmless.
But in ignoring it, we misunderstand its transient nature.
We fail to see its impermanence, and when we don't apply insight, ignorance persists. And ignorance is the fuel for future craving.
So to eradicate it, you have to truly understand its origin, its ending, its gratification, its drawback, and its escape.
You have to dissect it completely.
So if I'm getting this right, analyzing neutral feeling ensures there's no ground left for craving to take root, even in moments of calm or boredom. It closes the final mental loophole.
It guarantees a watertight system of release. And finally, this rigorous, precise cultivation of insight is beautifully balanced.
By what?
By limitless emotional expansion. This mental freedom is also cultivated through the Brahma Viharas.
The limitless qualities of mind.
Yes. Love, compassion, rejoicing, and equanimity. The practitioner is instructed to cultivate this freedom by spreading these qualities to the whole world abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will.
So the mind, once purified, is used as a force for boundless well-being.
An incredible synthesis.
It really is. Rigorous discipline and expansive compassion. This deep dive has shown the whole cycle, insight into the aggregates, their impermanence, that provides the basis for disillusionment, which in turn ripens as the total letting go needed for Nibbana.
The search for ultimate liberation requires the active, continuous development of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a process of making the mind so pliable and so clear,
that it just naturally relies on seclusion, fading away, and cessation.
ensuring the mind naturally inclines to release.
And the beauty of this fully ripened mind is captured in that defining statement of the ultimate release. The realization of letting go is defined as perceiving. This is peaceful, this is sublime.
That is the stilling of all activities, the letting go of all attachments, the ending of craving, fading away, cessation, extinguishment.
A powerful definition.
And we'll leave you with this thought to consider. The texts describe the sublime, peaceful state of stilling all activities. Yet, the method for achieving it is the active cultivation of mindfulness of breathing. Practice by breathing in and out, observing, letting go. How does that active present moment cultivation, using the breath as your continuous object of relinquishment, make the seemingly abstract sublime state attainable right now? That's the challenge of the path.